David Attenborough hardly needs an introduction here. David's been a wildlife broadcaster for over 50 years, a great friend of Wildscreen, arguably the most travelled man in the world. It's still a thought that sort of seems ridiculous, but I can't find anyone who would disagree with it. And a voice that's increasingly being heard standing up for wilderness and wildlife around the world. So, welcome, David. I think we're very honoured to have Jim Lovelock, for those of you who weren't here this morning, a fellow of the Royal Society who about 30 years ago came up with a notion which at the time was greeted with something slightly whimsical perhaps by the public, if not by the hard scientists. But this idea, Gaia, seems to have become a central ruling principle of our understanding of life on Earth, and I think Jim's perspective is a remarkable insight into our world. As you heard this morning, Jim has very worrying views about the situation we now face, so it'll be interesting to hear what he thinks and what the discussion throws up. So please welcome Jim Lovelock. His Royal Highness, Prince Carlos de Bourbon de Parme, to give him his full name, is a grandson of Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, who is, as you'll know, one of the founding fathers of WWF. And perhaps in a family tradition, Prince Carlos is actively engaged in trying to find alternative energies and technologies in trying to green business around the world. In fact, he's coined a rather interesting phrase, disruptive technology, which he'll explain in a moment. But I guess it's fair to say that a sustainable economy, a sustainable way of running the planet is Prince Carlos's aim. Please welcome him. And finally, we're also very honoured to have a man who comes from a very different perspective again, the co-founder of Google Earth, John Hanke. John Hanke's work on Google Earth started out rather tantalizingly as a sort of casual interest in gaming, but I think what he's discovered and what I think the world has discovered is that if you've got access to Google Earth, you've suddenly got a very powerful tool at your disposal. And I think the remarkable and surprising ways in which Google Earth may be a useful tool in our future is intriguing, and we'll hear more about it. So thank you. Welcome, John Hanke. Now, they've all come to discuss what I think we could all agree after this morning is an incredibly serious issue. Jim Lovelock has recently suggested that our planet's ability to cope with the disruptions that it's encountering, in particular the increase in greenhouse gases like CO2, has now got to the stage where we are now seriously limited in the options we have available. And that even if we were to stop all CO2 emissions right now, it would take many, many years, possibly centuries, before the planet could actually adjust to where we are now. So we're on a dangerous course toward climate change on a drastic sort of timetable, I think it's fair to say. And of course, we're not stopping CO2 emissions. In fact, the levels are set to increase in the coming years. So the question we're asking here this afternoon is it all too little, too late? I mean, are we just here sort of recording a rather sad moment in human history where we realize we've done some very stupid things and it's a bit of a shame, but we can't really change it now? Or are there steps that we can take? And I think this is what I'm hoping each of our four panelists will have some wisdom to throw light on.